Well, if your team is yet to have a bye week, then you're halfway through the 2025 college football regular season. Welcome into Got It Covered. I'm Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani. Man, this thing continues to fly by, my friend. We went into this week saying, could this be the week of upsets? The slate of uncertainty in college football, and it delivered. Upsets galore this weekend.
Yeah, major shakeups in the top 25 and the top 10, which is really what we thought could happen. Maybe it didn't come from areas where we expected it to happen, but it was one of those weeks. Like every year, college football has a week where everything kind of turns upside down. And like we said last week, this felt like this was going to be the case because so many top 25 teams were on open weeks, and there were some trap games here or there, and obviously big name ranked matchups as well. But we saw a lot of chaos from places we didn't really expect to see it. So it was one of those weeks where if there was an opportunity for something crazy to happen, it happened.
We're going to go through 4 of the biggest games throughout the weekend. Then at the tail end, we're going to go through the rest of the slate, some other things that opened our eyes or jumped out to us that maybe weren't worth a full deep dive on. And then, of course, at the end, we got a special surprise. So we're going to hold it as a special surprise, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show. But without further ado, let's get into the place we have to start. All the way out west, UCLA. That's right. 0-4 UCLA upsets number 7 Penn State 42-37, the final score. But UCLA put its foot on the gas on offense. Nico Iamaleava might have played his best game of college football that we've seen in his entire career, and that includes his time in Knoxville at Tennessee. This is out of nowhere. This is a UCLA program that had fired its head coach, is working with an interim staff, and they go out there and light it up for 42 points and beat them start to finish, Raza.
Yeah, you said it. Final score is not really indicative of what the game was. It was 27-7 at halftime. So I was running a few errands, right? And we talked about it last week, how the CW has that like staggered start time. And I told myself, I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep up with what's happening in college football, but I really want to watch the Virginia Tech game. And I was watching it, and it's just so discombobulated because it starts at 1, it ends at like 4. And then I had to go into work. Like as soon as the Tech game went final, I left, I went to work. And when I parked at the office, I pulled out my phone. I was like, can I just check some other scores right now? And it said halftime UCLA 27, Penn State 7. And I was like, this can't be right. Like, this just cannot be right. So then I went in, I asked people, I was like, what the hell's going on at the Rose Bowl? They were like, bro, Nico Iamaleava turned into Lamar Jackson. I'm like, well, shoot. And yes, Penn State went, had a valiant effort in the second half, but like, dude, what does it matter?
Yeah.
What does it matter? This team came out unprepared to play. They were all over the place. The story I want to start with, obviously, though, is UCLA, because how can you not feel good for that program? Gio, I think I read that it's the first top 10 upset by a 0-4 or worse team since the 80s.
I believe it. Doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
Winless. No head coach. They fired Deshaun Foster. Obviously, Tim Skipper is the interim there. The lasting image of this game, I think, will be Jerry Neuheisel, who looks like Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones, on the shoulders of his players, being lifted up like he's at Woodstock 99, like absolutely going crazy. He's a UCLA Bruin through and through as well.
Right. Played quarterback there.
Yep. And had
Same
a very
picture
emotional
with
press
him.
conference. Yeah. That's so cool. Like that is, he said it, right? These are the reasons why we love college football. So shout out to him. Shout out to Tim Skipper. Shout out to Nico, because they took it to the man. But as much as UCLA is the feel-good story here, the story, the meat and potatoes is like James Franklin, man. Is there any coming back from this, Gio? I know that they could still go 10-2 if they beat Ohio State. We're probably looking at 9-3, but now nothing's a given with the way Drew Aller has been, soiling his drawers, and the way James Franklin continues to fail in these moments, big or small. Clearly, like, you got to wonder, does Penn State have to make a change, or is this a situation where the grass isn't always greener on the other side?
This is, to my memory, the most catastrophic regular season loss for a team that had the hopes and expectations that we had built around Penn State. I mean, I picked them to go 12-0
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
go to the
right. You
college
said they win
football
the Big
playoffs
Ten.
and win the Big Ten and go into the playoffs undefeated, right? With a Big Ten championship. So I guess 13-0 is what I had them rolling into the playoffs as. And obviously that has not happened. But not only has that not happened, like, okay, you lost to Oregon. Fine. We talked about Oregon as a national championship contender. Hiccups happen. You live in a modern landscape of college football where you can lose up to 3 games, maybe, but 2 games and still be comfortable going into Selection Sunday. Still felt like Penn State had a decent shot to have everything in front of them and make the
Yeah.
playoffs and maybe even play for the Big Ten championship. Probably would have had to beat Ohio State to do that. So I know that's a lofty mountain to climb, but this is catastrophic. This is you have to step back and great feel good story for UCLA. And I appreciate that. And I love that for UCLA. But this is an 0-4 team that had fired its head coach that really hadn't shown a pulse all
No.
season.
No.
Nothing. This is not losing to a decent, say it's Clemson, right? This is not losing to a decent NC State team where they get you on a bad week and you
Or
go
sorry to interrupt.
no,
We've seen Big Ten teams go to Iowa and lose, but
or
that's not an
Purdue,
easy.
right? We've seen
Not,
teams lose at Purdue in the Big Ten.
Purdue. Yeah, Purdue is like the one that's weird. But they called them the spoiler makers, right? For a couple of years.
But even then, they had like Rondell Moore and stuff.
Exactly.
And you're still playing in an atmosphere. The Rose Bowl is not an atmosphere.
Dude, I was gonna say all 20 fans at this game went crazy when UCLA won because nobody was there. They're playing it, and it's a glorified scrimmage. Like everything surrounding the situation makes it that much more perplexing that this is happening to Penn State.
So bizarre. What is the issue? It's more than they let Oregon beat them twice. There's truly no explanation for how something like this happens. And we should give our props. Like Nico, sure, he goes 17-24 through the air, 166 yards, 2 tuds. You mentioned he looked like Lamar Jackson on the ground. 16 carries, 128 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns, along of 52. He literally looked like Lamar Jackson on the ground.
Yeah.
This feels like a deep-rooted within the program foundational failure for Penn State.
Yes. Every time Penn State falls and they are only having themselves to blame, the guy that deserves the lion's share of that blame is James Franklin. And I have always been of the belief that James Franklin is about as good as you can ask for if you're Penn State. Like, I remember when they gave him that big extension, everybody was like, what the hell? He's not done anything. And people do point to the fact they got to the semifinal last year. They were a hair away from winning it. But you also have to consider that they played SMU and Boise State to get there. Those are games that, like, Penn State should win.
Yeah.
I mean, Gio, genuinely, the last game Penn State won that they should not have is the 2016 Ohio State blocked field goal. Like, they fail in every major spot since then. You could point to a couple wins over Michigan here and there, but like if they're at home, they're supposed to win those games. Like that game back in 2016, just 9 years ago. I know that makes us feel old, but like it's been 9 years since Penn State's won a game with any gravity surrounding it. And if the knock on Franklin was that he can't win the big one, what happens when he can't win the small ones? The minuscule
This was a small one.
Because these guys were not ready to play. Like, okay, to go to the West Coast and be sluggish, that's fair, right? They struggled with USC last year. To go to the West Coast and have this happen, because he was like, we didn't respond well to the loss. We had to travel, all this stuff. I'm like,
that's coaching, though. Didn't respond well to the loss. What is that?
Dude, Washington had to fly from Seattle to BWI and had a 24-point comeback to beat Maryland the other day.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me it's travel. And Maryland is a hell of a lot better than UCLA. Like, so don't point at travel. And the other thing is, you are Penn State. You have, like you said, championship aspirations. It's amazing returning roster. Penn State and Clemson now are 2 shining examples of just because you brought everyone back doesn't mean jack.
Yeah, like clearly. Both teams, I think, look like they took steps backwards somehow.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes.
And it's the same team.
Penn State lost 2 games all of last year.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they did
technically
not
3
have a
if you
loss
count
on
the
their. They did
playoffs.
not have a loss like this on their.
No.
I mean, a loss like
They
this
lost-
hasn't happened since the 80s, to your point.
Yeah, they lost to Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame last year. Not UCLA, and not. I mean, who knows what could happen from here on out. So just a very, very, very strange situation. They're now 0-2 in the Big Ten, so they've lost their last 3 conference games. If you go back to the Big Ten championship game last year, and again, James Franklin has this incapability to win games of gravity and of meaning. So what happens now when you can't win the games like UCLA? Because this is, I know Penn State fans come for his head after every missed third down conversion, but this feels really, really difficult to bounce back from. And I know we haven't even talked about like Drew Aller. Like Drew Aller, I'm sorry, not it.
Not great. Yeah.
God bless you if you're drafting a quarterback in the NFL this year, because there's not a lot of great options if Drew Aller's near the top of the list. But like, I don't want to blame the players, because at least they've shown a lot of fight to come back in these games, the last 2 games. Part of that's on coaching too. But like you said, the big word for me, Gio, that you said here was systemic. This is systemic. It starts at the top with James Franklin.
Last question here. Where do you go now if you're Penn State? What does the rest of the season outlook feel like for you?
Probably start looking at hotels at the Citrus Bowl, I would say. I mean, I expect them to lose to Ohio State, which would put them at.
Is that their saving grace? Does that save them?
Yes, that could. It could, because.
So they're not dead, you're saying? If they beat Ohio State, they're not dead.
No, it's not that easy. I don't think it's that easy, because this loss is going to weigh them down heavily. Because UCLA is not going to parlay this into a 6-6 season. Like, they are a 2-10, 3-9 football team. Yeah. UCLA was flirting with 0-12. Like, we cannot forget this. Yeah. So I don't think beating Ohio State's their saving grace. It would go a long way. They would also have to beat Indiana, in my opinion. You need to balance out these 2 losses with those 2 marquee wins. Beating Indiana, very much possible, even though I think Indiana is a fantastic team. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State in Columbus. So, yeah, I would start looking at the old Outback Bowl, Citrus Bowl.
Oh, boy.
Get the flights ready.
All right. There you go. Well, this was far from the only, I don't want to say shocking, far from the only surprise of the weekend, right? This is the one that we didn't see coming in any way. The rest of these, we could have seen the writing on the wall a little bit.
Yes.
I want to take you to Gainesville, Florida. Texas.
Did I call this one the other?
You didn't call it. What you said, we both had agreed. You definitely were the one that brought it up. We both had agreed. Just look out for the game. Yeah. I don't think you flat out said Florida was going to win it, but you were like, just have your eyes on this one. And
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if I said it.
Right.
But I bet it on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, so you might as well have called it then. Your wallet called it. There you go.
I did.
This was a fascinating game. It really was. 29-21 the final score. Florida beats Texas. I felt like the opening drive set the tone in this thing, man. Yeah. Florida goes out there and goes 3 of 3 on third down. The first play was a fumble that they then recover.
That's right. They went 13 plays, 84 yards, 7. And they went 13 plays for 84 yards in 7 minutes. So I mean, if you want to talk about setting the tone, that's the definition of setting the tone. You said 3 for 3 on third down. It's just, no matter which way you slice it, if you come out in a game that's a quote unquote must win, like every game under Billy Napier feels like a must win, that's how you start. If you start like that, that's a tone setter.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Throughout this game, there was times where I thought Arch left a lot to be desired, but I maybe unpopular opinion, I thought there were times where he made some nice plays. I thought he had a nice ball on the deep shot to Wingo to score the touchdown.
That was a beautiful football.
I thought he showed good escapability at times throughout this game. Throws 2 bad interceptions. No question about that. But I thought he made some nice throws on the run. So I think you saw the highs and the lows of Arch Manning in this game against Florida. I thought the biggest thing was Texas couldn't get off the field on 3rd down in this game with their defense out there.
Mm-hmm. Florida goes 50% on 3rd downs in this game.
Best game we've seen under Lagway?
Yeah. Considering the circumstances,
he had one bad pick. He had one bad pick.
But he was the better quarterback in this game.
Oh, no question.
Yes, Arch showed his highs, but I'm of the opinion that your lows outweigh your highs when you play quarterback. Like, if you're playing quarterback and you have an outstanding touchdown throw like Arch had to Wingo, like you mentioned, yes, that's great, but then you can't make the back-breaking plays like the interceptions that he threw, because both those interceptions felt like the same play, where he's just trying to force something that's not there. This was a problem I felt like he kind of had in the Ohio State game. It's just that the throws were so off target that defenders couldn't get to it. He needs to learn that not every play is a touchdown. It's like the way that I play Madden. When I truck up 3 deep shots on 1st, 2nd, 3rd down because I'm running 4 verts, and every time it falls incomplete, I'm like, well, shoot. Well, maybe I should have ran the ball. Maybe I should have hit my running back out of the backfield. Texas, man, their defense isn't what we thought that it was or could have been. They definitely aren't playing to their potential across the board. I think Sark's kind of, I don't want to say losing his grip, but they're not a very well-coached team right now. Like, they are committing penalties. They're not sound. Their tackling was horrible, dude. What was the touchdown?
Yeah.
Where Lagway drops it perfectly to his receiver. I think it was Wilson, who then spins out and breaks tackles and barrels his way into I'm like, dude, this looks like JV versus varsity.
That was bad on Texas's part, but can we agree Dallas Wilson, for being a true freshman, kid's elite.
Yeah, that was a hell of a performance.
Awesome. It wasn't even just that. He scored, I want to say 3 touchdowns in the game, at least two. And then Vernell Brown III, another freshman wide receiver for
they've got talent, man. Like, Florida's struggles this year have not been for a lack of talent. They've been coaching and DJ Lagway being subpar, to say the least. But you're seeing in some of these games the flashes, like throughout the course of the year. Like, they had the long touchdown against LSU. We saw flashes very briefly against like USF. And also in the middle of that game against Miami, obviously started and ended slow, but the middle of that game, they kind of picked themselves up. Like, you're seeing bits and pieces of a Florida team that could be competitive if they were consistent. This Gio was the first game they've played this year where they were consistent. And on both sides of the ball, if you're able to remain that consistent, this is the results you're going to get. Because Texas, for what it's worth, although they're struggling, it's not a bad football team.
Yeah.
They're not.
Currently fighting for my life with this microphone over here, but we're powering through. It just keeps disconnecting for some reason. 2 things that I thought were the biggest difference in this game, before we move on. Thought Florida's defensive line was really impressive. I was super impressed with the penetration that Florida's defensive line got and their run stuffing ability. You look at what exactly the defense was able to amass here. First of all, turnovers were split 2-2. So that was kind of a non-factor in this thing. The timeliness definitely was there, but Florida gets 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. Texas's defense doesn't amass a single sack in this game.
That's
huge
great
difference. So I thought Florida's D-line was huge. And then I thought Florida did a really nice job game plan-wise leaning on their running game.
Yes.
Jaden Ball goes out there and has 27 carries, 107 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, he only averaged 4 yards a carry. That's fine. They ran the ball more. They handed the ball to Jaden Ball in this game 27 times, more than they did in the Miami and the LSU game combined. Give Jaden Ball the football, Raza.
Yeah, take the load off of Lagway.
Yeah.
Like, and Lagway was like close to perfect in this game. The pick he threw wasn't great, but like
he was really good.
Again, if Florida can remain this consistent, that's the key. On the flip side, you're right. Florida's defensive line, which has been really their strength all year, Gio, is fantastic in this game. If the opposing team's leading rusher is their quarterback on scramble drills, I take that. Especially if it's a guy like Arch and it's not like, I don't know, Lamar Jackson, So
yeah. I'll leave you with this. Crazy take. We saw it last year. I don't think it's over for Florida. What is
over?
You
think they can make the college football playoff?
I'm not saying it's not over for Billy Napier. I'm not saying they don't move on after this year. All I'm saying is they're 1-1 in the SEC. I don't think there's not a path for them to play for the SEC championship if they play like they did on Saturday. Granted, we don't think Texas is that good.
They still have the schedule of death.
I agree. I'm just saying I think there's still a path where we didn't think there was a path at all heading into this weekend.
Right. That's true. I think a lot of people thought maybe Billy Napier wouldn't even have a job. Right. There's a path to proving themselves.
But at the same time, what is enough for him to keep his job at that point? Because you saw this, they played this game last year. Terrible start to the year. Florida's awful. And then they rip off what they rip off at the end of the year. And all of a sudden the whole thought process behind Florida changes from a media standpoint.
Yeah, I guess it would be like winning out.
You'd have to go to the playoffs, right?
Winning out and going to the playoffs sounds about right. Or even like going to the SEC championship game. It feels unlikely, but again, Gio, if they can remain consistent, you're seeing how good they can be if they are this consistent. And maybe Texas just stinks. They fell out of the top 25, same way Penn State did, which was deserved. Shout out to the AP voters for finally getting something right.
You go from 9 to, they should have never been 9th in the country. You go from 9 to unranked. Give me a break.
They should never have been 9. But I think there's a real shot that they could play the type of football we thought they could have.
Sure.
Hopefully they just don't lose this level of consistency. I know that's my buzzword in this segment, but they need to remain on track. Like you said, run the damn ball and take the load off of Lagway and let the defense do the rest.
Another game for you. Alabama beats Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa. 30-14, the final score in this game. Vanderbilt was the aggressor early on. I think it's plain and simple. It comes down to one thing for me. Diego Pavia, for all the talking he does, for all the attention he gets, Diego Pavia lost Vanderbilt this football game. 2 red zone turnovers in crucial spots. The interception late was bad, but more importantly, the fumble in the red zone with the opportunity to go up 14-0 and punch Alabama right in the face early on in the game, that was maybe even worse. Pavia with 2 red zone turnovers lost Vanderbilt this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt's good. They're good enough to go into Tuscaloosa and win, clearly. But it's still a spot where you can't make mistakes if you want to win the game, right? If you want to go on the road to beat Alabama, you can't turn the ball over, period.
Right.
Let alone turn the ball over inside the 20-yard line. Was he fine otherwise? I guess. I thought Bama's defense played really well in the second half. Obviously, they didn't allow a touchdown. They didn't allow a point in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. And they themselves turned it on offensively after a slow start. But like, to your point, Gio, when a play like that happens, it completely flips the momentum in the opposite direction. Because if Vanderbilt goes up 14-0 there, the Bama fans are starting to get antsy in the stands. The sidelines starting to question themselves a little bit. Then what happens if,
especially because they picked off Ty Simpson? So it would have been when they went up 7-0, then got the interception. I was like, oh wow, Vanderbilt's going to win this football game.
Yes.
Then they fumble in the red zone and the whole game changes. But if you went touchdown, take it away on defense with the pick, then touchdown again. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of teams would be hard pressed to get off the mat there.
Yeah, it would have been scary. But then the crowd gets back into it. The sideline is galvanized by it. the momentum completely shifts. When we see it countless times in football games, the team dominates for a quarter or 2 quarters, but one play can make all the difference in a key spot, and that's what that was. From then on out, it was pretty much all Bama. I mean, I do think Vandy put up a pretty good fight in the second half. They had that nice long touchdown drive to tie it up 14-14. But from then on out, I mean, I got to say, brutal backdoor by Alabama in this game as somebody who I had Vanderbilt plus 10.5 on like Thursday. Then I cashed out and got him at 12.5 on Saturday morning because I was like, absolutely, I'll take the extra 2 points. Jam Miller, you didn't need to score that touchdown, bro. Just go down. Just go. You're trying to get a first down. Just go down, bro. Just go. I guarantee you, Gio, that's going to be on bad beats tonight, and I'm going to be in shambles. I'm going to be in absolute shambles about it. But, yeah, I mean, just to cover the Bama side of things, I mean, Ty Simpson continues to be an absolute cyborg. He is – I mean, we've talked about it week in and week out, Gio. His processing is one thing. But then his ability – to get to a second or third read and get the ball out and deliver it perfectly on time with velocity, with accuracy is like really surprising to see at the collegiate level. You don't see a lot of guys who can do this, making what I call Sunday throws.
Yeah.
You know, he had, I think it might've been for the touchdown, right? To
Ryan Williams,
where he's
rolling out and then and what about the one where this is what feels most NFL ready to me. It was a different one because Williams was pretty open. He's rolling out to the right. He's processing. He's scanning, stops on a dime, turns the other way, plants and throws. And he finds Williams. Just like the way he's able to have command of his body as well while his eyes are scanning. And his ability to extend the plays. It felt very... It felt very Allen-y, Herbert-y. It felt like that.
It feels Burrow-like.
It feels Burrow-like. That's fair. Yeah.
In terms of the way he's manipulating the pocket. Like he's not Justin Herbert has a very unique blend of physical traits the same way Josh Allen does.
Right.
Like, I don't think Ty Simpson,
that are 6'6" and
exactly. Like Ty Simpson reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow. He's not as big as Burrow is necessarily in terms of how like stocky he is.
He'll get bigger.
He will. And he had the throw that stands out to me is like that whole shot he had to I think it was Jeremy Bernard at the end of the first half, where again, you see it, you fire it, it beats the safety there. By the time the safety gets there, Jeremy Bernard's running to the end zone. Like you can't what's Dan Marino's famous quote? You can't guard a perfect throw. The guy's throwing the ball perfectly. Yeah. Like he's playing at a very, very, very high level right now. He is. I mean, I hesitate to say this because it's so early and there's so much time left. Who knows what could happen? But he's playing NFL football, like he's playing Sunday football on Saturdays.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive, and I think something that's helping him do that is, I know you think Ohio State's the best, so I'm not going to take that throne from you. They're the defending national champs. Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, they're freaks, right? I think, though, like 1 through 4 or 5, I love what Alabama has in that wide receiver room. Like your top 2 at Ohio State, sure, fine. But, man, you go down the list at Alabama of pass catchers, it's really impressive. Ryan Williams is awesome. Jeremy Bernard's a stud. Isaiah Horton, you add him from Miami. He's a beast. Like even Brooks goes out there and Rico Scott, and they'll have a couple of big catches for you every game. And then you even got the big tight end as well in Cuevas, who's jumping over people in this game.
Yeah, he's very athletic.
You know, you got a whole stable of pass catchers in Tuscaloosa that I've just been so impressed with. And between that and the quarterback, this is one of the most deadly offenses, and the guy calling plays as well. This is one of the most deadly offenses in the country, if not the most lethal.
They're playing at a very high level right now. They're beating good teams. They're beating good defenses. It makes that Florida State game a lot more perplexing. I'm just going to chalk that up to week one.
Week one, weren't ready. Yeah.
Probably underestimated the opponent a little bit. Like that is still a loss in a performance that wouldn't happen under Saban. But now these guys are playing at a different type of level. And you're seeing the defense at Alabama also really start to rally.
Here's something I think that could have happened after that game. I think after that game, because it doesn't always take into another season to change things, right? Like Saban talked about the other day on game day, how he had this moment when he was coaching at Michigan State where he had to look within when they were going to play Ohio State and start coaching not for results, but coaching for the betterment of his players, like wanting to turn them into better men, better prepared for life, whatnot, not coaching for results. And when he made that change in the middle of the season, they went and beat Ohio State. And obviously it changed his career because you look from that moment on, they like showed on game day his record before that and his record after that. And
Mhm.
it was just some coach. And then it was Nick Saban. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think there's a real world in Tuscaloosa where look at Alabama last year. It looked a lot more like week one Alabama under Kalen DeBoer, right? You lose at Vanderbilt. And I'm not knocking
Mhm.
Vanderbilt, right? We knew they were a good club, but probably shouldn't have lost that game in Nashville. And just the way that you couldn't control and didn't look like Alabama, right? I almost feel like what if DeBoer took after week one, the loss to Florida State, look in the mirror, look within moment, and said, we're going to make some form of a systemic change here.
Mhm.
And whether that's a culture thing or whatever it was, whatever I feel like there was a change made in how DeBoer coached this team that now you're seeing the fruits of that labor paying off. And you're looking at a completely different Alabama football program that looks a lot more like what it used to than it did week one. And I'd argue all of last season.
Yeah, more than anything, they look more physically imposing than they
Yeah.
did in that Florida State game, and even at many times last year, to your point. So I think they're going to need to continue to be that because they play like 4 top 15 teams the rest of the way. Like they play
Yeah.
Missouri this week, they got to play Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma. So it's going to be, and then maybe an SEC championship game. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they can keep it up, if they can keep it up. But we said it last week, and I'm still going to continue saying it. They are the best team in the SEC right now. Someone's going to have to knock them off if they're going to have to prove otherwise.
If you had to pick an SEC title game right now, who would it be? I think I would go, call me crazy, Ole Miss and Alabama.
I was going to say Alabama and Texas A&M.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like the way Texas A&M is
Oh, yeah.
playing defensively
Yes.
right now, right? Because that game against Notre Dame was a shootout, and we were like, oh, the Marcel Reed and that offense, they're dogs. They can just keep winning shootouts. And then Texas A&M the last 2 weeks is like giving up 10 points or less each of the last 2
Yeah.
weeks. So
They've shown they can win any kind of game at this point.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I love the way Marcel Reed is playing. The other thing is, man, is that crowd at Kyle Field is always electric. But did you see the blackout?
It was
Holy
lit.
smokes.
And that the
That was
unis and everything.
so beautiful. That was one of the
Insane.
coolest environments I've seen in college football this year, probably. So
Yeah.
like, and the videos I saw of like, teams having to call timeout because of how rowdy it gets, like they're I would take them over Ole Miss right now because
That's valid.
I also just trust Mike Elko a little bit
Okay.
more.
I can't wait. I'm going to see Kyle Field for the first time. A&M versus South Carolina in November. Going to go down
That'll be
there and see
gas.
that. So
That'll be
that's going to be
amazing.
nuts. I love too that they run out to Power by
Yep,
Kanye. Elite.
it's iconic.
It is. One more big game to talk about here before we kind of break through the weeds a little bit, and we have a surprise for you at the end. Miami goes to Tallahassee, takes it to Florida State. I don't even want you to look at the final score of 28-22 and think that Florida State was in this game because they weren't. Miami took it to them. And I kind of felt that. I know we didn't agree on that. You thought we were going to see this awesome game, and I was hoping for that, but I've just been so impressed with Miami. And I was so unimpressed with Florida State's defense last week in Charlottesville that I had a gut feeling Miami was going to take it to them, and it ended up playing out that way this week. All three phases of the ball, Miami just looked like the better team, imposed their will, more physical, bigger, faster, stronger. Same old with Miami, Raza. We're saying it every week. We're getting sick of saying it. It almost feels like you have to yawn with it, but you win the national championship.
They're the best looking team in college football right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they committed a heinous amount of penalties in this game, and it like didn't matter. It didn't matter. They were so wow, you just yawned yourself into
I made
existence.
myself yawn. Yeah.
They are playing at a ridiculously high level, and you want to talk about a guy that's making Sunday throws and Sunday decisions.
Won't
You're
stop.
insane. You want to talk about a guy playing at NFL level right now, man? It's Carson Beck. Carson Beck is playing at a very high level for Miami right now. He was pretty much flawless in this game. And yes, Miami's defense was a big reason that it was so lopsided for so long. Because Florida State goes up 3-0 in the first quarter, and then Miami outscores them 28-0 the rest of the way until garbage time. Carson Beck is a dog. Their receiving core, you want to talk about a good receiving core from top to bottom. They got one in Miami Gardens / Coral Gables /
which is
Miami
crazy because they lost so much.
They did. They reloaded.
They lost Restrepo. Horton goes to Alabama.
Yep. But this 17-year-old Malachi Tony is just, he's unguardable.
Yeah.
He is a fascinating player to watch because he does everything really well. He can go over the middle. He runs routes very, very well. He's a crisp route runner. He can get separation in the intermediate. He can get separation deep because of his speed. He's electric after the catch. You're also seeing that with a guy like CJ Daniels, who's really come into his own this year. They are pretty much infallible on both sides of the ball. They have so much strength at every level. I think only a team of their caliber can knock them off. That includes themselves. Because again, like we always expect Miami to make the oopsies, but I don't know if that's going to happen because when Miami's been good, they've not looked this good. Remember last year, they were undefeated, but they were winning every game by the skin of their teeth, like 50 to 45. This is different, man. They're putting belt on teams every week. And Florida State's not bad.
No.
You know, Florida is kind of bad, but like again, we know what they can be. USF is a ranked team. They are doing this. Notre Dame is really good. Like they are doing this consistently to everybody.
Yeah.
And they're not really going to be tested in the ACC. We'll see how it pans out in the college football playoff, assuming that it does go that way. But this team, man, they pass the eye test. They pass the test on paper. They do everything.
That is my one fear with Miami is that when it comes playoff time, and I'm talking like semifinals of the playoffs, like chance to win the national championship, you're going to have a team like Ohio State there, who at that point will have played Texas. Okay, you could probably put Texas in the same hat as Notre Dame for Miami, so fine. And it was the same week. But then they're going to have played Penn State. Well, Penn State's probably not in that conversation. Maybe I'm talking myself out of my point here because my point was going to be that these SEC and Big Ten teams are going to be a little bit more battle tested and know what that feels like to play against a team of their caliber or better.
Yeah.
Especially when they play in a conference championship game. Like the SEC and Big Ten conference championship game is going to be a big boy game. The ACC championship game might not be. If Miami plays Florida State again, or if Miami plays Georgia Tech or Virginia at this point, that's not the same as Ohio State battling it out with Oregon or Texas A&M going at it with Alabama, like you just predicted, right? So I just hope that, as somebody who enjoys the ACC and thinks college football is better when Miami's a prominent figure in the national conversation, I hope that they've actually been tested enough throughout the season that they know what that feels like and are ready for that moment. Because when you've been able to walk your way through the ACC schedule, and it was kind of front loaded for Miami, now it's about to kind of get easy for the Canes. And you never want to call it easy, but like this is the number 3 team in the country. Here's their upcoming opponents. Louisville, it's in Miami Gardens. They should take care of business there. Virginia just beat Louisville. Louisville's an okay club. Then they're going to play Stanford. Then they go to SMU. They play Syracuse. They play NC State. They play at Virginia Tech, and they play at Pitt. they're going to be favored by a touchdown in every single one of those games.
At least.
At least, like,
At
I'm
least.
talking like SMU might be a touchdown, but Louisville might be a touchdown or 10.5. Stanford, 21-point spread. Syracuse, more than 17.5. Clemson and SMU were favored by 17.5 against Syracuse. Love you guys though. NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt, they're gonna be favored by 20 points in those games.
Yeah. They should sleepwalk to 12-0, probably 13-0. Will that be enough to be number one in the rankings? Probably not if Ohio State goes 13-0, for example, or even Oregon goes 13-0. Again, that is your clear-cut top three. Playoff time is going to be really interesting because they can do it. I just don't know that they will, but they can. They can do it.
They can. I hope they do. Would be good for the ACC if they do.
Yeah, but
that would be.
I do hate Miami though. At the end of the day,
I find it hard to hate Miami because they weren't that good when we were growing up.
That's fair. It's more of like a brand thing, right? Like the Cowboys haven't been to an NFC Championship game in 30 years.
I don't hate the Cowboys. They haven't been.
But like America hates the Cowboys.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I hate the Chiefs.
Like I don't have beef, and I don't have beef with the Chiefs. I didn't have beef with the Patriots growing up. So like it's different, right? I guess we're comparing each other's rivals essentially here. But like, you know how America would relish in the fact that the Eagles beat the Chiefs this past year, the same way they did when the Eagles beat the Patriots 10 years ago. Sure. So like it comes with the territory for Miami. You know, it's a brand thing. But I to your point, it would be, dude, could you imagine a Miami Ohio State championship game? Rematch of 02?
Oh, yeah, that'd be sick. Dude, where is the Natty this year? Because that game was at Sun Devil Stadium in the Fiesta.
It was. I want to say the Natty this year is in Miami. Oh, that would be. Wait a second.
It's in Miami?
I'm pretty sure.
Consult Google.
You want a quick fact check? 2026 CFB National Championship. Yes, it is in Miami. Holy smokes.
That would be. That's destiny right there. I'm calling it now. They're going to play in their home stadium.
Dude, if it's Ohio State, Miami, people are leaving that stadium in handcuffs.
It's going to be awesome.
Dude, Miami fans still talk about 02.
Yeah.
They still talk about 02. I work with a Miami fan, and I was like, yeah, I went to Virginia Tech, but I grew up a Buckeye fan. They're like throwing profane insults at me for saying the words Ohio State. I'm like, oh my God. Holy smokes. So,
college football,
it'll be fun.
Man. Yeah, that'd be awesome, bro. That'd be sick. All right. Anything else stand out to you this week? Because it really was a banger week, and there's so many games that we didn't even get to, like in the ACC. How about Virginia pulling it out in overtime over Louisville?
They find ways to win, man. That's a good football team.
It is.
You know it's a good team when they don't play their best ball and still win. That's the telltale sign of a good team.
And that was not an easy game to go win. They were playing an undefeated Louisville team at their place.
Yep. As dogs. Credit to them. Vegas was right about Cincinnati. That was such a strange one. Remember, we were like, why is Cincinnati favoring that game? I'm like, I don't know, but Vegas says they are. So I stayed away from it in terms of the old FanDuel account because I was like, I just don't know. But turns out Cincinnati was a mortal mega nuke. Again, I think Texas A&M is playing really good football right now. I would have them in my top 5 personally.
Looked good against Mississippi State, really good. Because Mississippi State, remember, I mean, they almost beat Tennessee. Like, we felt really good about where Mississippi State was at, and we thought that could be a sleepy game, and A&M shut that down pretty quick.
Again, Vegas was all over that one. So, yeah, very interesting. And then, again, as good as Miami is, like, I don't know if I would put them number 1 over Ohio State because they are playing at a very high level right now. I mean, Ohio State's not giving up double-digit points this year. Like that, I understand they've not played Murderers Row, but it's not worth nothing. It reminds me, this Ohio State team more than anything reminds me a lot of the 2019 Ohio State team. Like that team was very good on defense.
Sure.
The trade-off is that Ohio State's offense, while it was fantastic, J.K. Dobbins ran for 2,000 yards that year. They can do everything. And I thought this was Julian Sain's best game as a Buckeye. You're really seeing them unlock Bo Jackson. You said it earlier, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. You're just not guarding them over the course of 4 quarters. So just kind of fascinated to see what the Ohio State Buckeyes look like moving forward this year. Interesting game coming up against Illinois. Again, you got to play Penn State. Should get to 12-0 at some point. I would still keep them at number 1. Honestly, I'm really interested to see what it comes down to when the college football playoff rankings come out. Because like, who are they going to value? We say like leave last year in the past. So you can't just give Ohio State the benefit of the doubt because they won the national championship last year. All those guys are gone. So, because Miami's number 1 eye test wise, but I still think on paper Ohio State's very impressive. I mean, they're giving up 5 points a game, Gio. 5.
Yeah. I don't think it really matters who's number 1 in the country.
They're all going to play each other eventually.
Right. I think it matters who's number 1 in their conference, honestly, more than anything.
Right, which is why the inevitable Ohio State-Oregon Big Ten championship game is going to be cinema.
Yeah, especially with Penn State losing. I mean, we said like there's still a path, but like it would take a lot. So now that really feels inevitable. Ohio State, Oregon.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They have a comfortable cushion.
Right.
Or Indiana. But listen, Indiana's really good.
Good shout.
Oregon and Indiana play each other this week.
I cannot wait.
So that game is going to be. I'll be watching that over Red River with all due respect.
I 1 trillion% will be watching it over Red River. It's sad that Red River lost its luster of what it could have been like with our preseason views, and then how good through the first couple of weeks Mateer was and whatnot. But you're probably gonna have no John Mateer, and Texas stinks. So right. I'm easily watching Oregon, Indiana. Plus Kurt Signetti and Dan Lanning are must-see television. It's like a sitcom. It's like a sitcom of coaches right there.
That is.
It really is. So that'll be a good time. Our surprise at the end of our show here. Who you got winning the Heisman? We're through 6 weeks. So let's reveal who we think is going to New York and winning the Heisman through the first 6 weeks of the season, Raza.
Well, first, can I revisit your prediction? You said Arch Manning would win the Heisman. I don't want to.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that.
You said he was going to be a finalist. You said
I said he'd be a finalist. I said Jeremiah Smith was going to win the Heisman.
So you're good. You're absolved. But still,
I also said Cade Klubnik would be there too.
I said that too. So we listen. We've been wrong before. It's been known to happen. I know I've talked about Fernando Mendoza on here before, and as much as I would love to say Mendoza, can't give it to him yet. The script flips if he beats Oregon, though. So keep your eye out for that. I think he could skyrocket. If there's somebody to get value in right now, I would say it's Fernando Mendoza, because I think they have a real shot to beat Oregon. And if that happens, you're going to see whoosh. But as it currently stands, I would probably give it. No, not probably. I would give it to Carson Beck, which is crazy to say. I would not believe I would be saying that 6 weeks ago. But I know so many times Heisman is just, the best player on the best team. He's been the best player on arguably the best team. But more than that, like, he has been the prime catalyst for why they've been so good. Again, he is playing the quarterback position at a very, very, very high level in big games. They're on TV every week against big opponents, tough games. Like, they've not had a gimme this year.
No.
Really.
No, so, even USF was a hard game as far as when they were ranked.
And he's been brilliant. So considering that, I would have to give it to him. I know Dante Moore's had the production, and the Penn State game definitely made his trajectory go skyward as well. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith's having a good year, and I know we both love Ty Simpson, but as it currently stands, because of that loss to Florida State for Simpson, I would give it to the former Mr. Cavinder.
There you go. Shout out Haley. I have literally the same 4. So the other 3 guys going to New York. But instead of Carson Beck winning the Heisman, I think what I've seen and what I will continue to see throughout the rest of the season, because Beck's not going to be tested, which maybe is fine for the Heisman. Maybe that's fine. But I think if he delivers the way I think he's going to deliver, with the strong schedule still in front of him, and hoists an SEC championship trophy at the end of it. We've talked about him looking like a Sunday player on Saturday, I think Ty Simpson is going to win the Heisman Trophy.
If they don't lose the rest of the way and he continues playing this way against, like I said, Missouri, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, and then a championship game, which won't count for voting, but still, well, some people do it after the championship. The right voters do it after the championship, I should say. So it's very possible, man.
There's a path for all four of those guys. The only one, and he was my preseason pick, Jeremiah Smith. The numbers are good. I don't know if they're good enough. I don't know if we're seeing wide receiver numbers with how good those three quarterbacks are playing right now.
Right. Which is a shame because I do think he's still the best player in college football. At least the best offensive.
And it's not doing him any favors that he hasn't played anybody yet.
Exactly.
Like,
so
I haven't watched Ohio State play football since week 1.
Really? I guess that makes sense. I haven't played anybody.
I mean, who am I going to watch him play? Respectfully, there's only so much time in the day, and there's been a lot more games to watch. I have to go back and watch the condensed games half the time. I told you I have the attention span of a toddler. I have to watch one game at a time. I can't do this 6-screen.
That's true.
You know,
you don't want to watch Ohio State play Minnesota over Miami and Florida State. Man, what's wrong with you?
No, I don't.
The production's not there, even though we all are in agreement that he's probably the best. If it's going to go to the guy with production, Simpson and Beck and more feel like the front runners. Although I will say Julian Sayin is putting together some nice games. He's a guy that could rise. Trinidad Chambliss is a guy that could rise as well for Ole Miss. Like if they keep winning, like I said, Texas A&M keeps winning, Marcel Reed's going to be in the conversation. So really it's got to be the blend of performances individually and performances as a team. Those are the guys that you got to keep an eye out for.
I agree. Where can the people find us, Raza?
They can find us at Got It Covered FB on all social media platforms. Got It Covered FB, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and MySpace, and Napster.
We don't have MySpace
and
this isn't Metallica.
So yeah, good times. Plenty of content coming your way. NFL pod drops tomorrow after what I thought was the best NFL week of the season. So can't wait to get into that. We will debrief on all of the happenings in the National Football League, and obviously plenty more college and NFL content coming your way. So stay tuned. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, refer the show to a friend, interact, tell us how dumb we are because we can be dumb sometimes.
Oh, we have our moments. Trust.
Some of us had Clemson, Penn State national championship games.
Some of us said that the 4 teams that would play in the with the first round bye in the college football playoffs were going to be undefeated.
That is, which is pretty much impossible now.
And I think at this point, those teams have combined between Penn State and Clemson for already 5 losses.
Yes.
So
Texas has 2.
5, 6, 7 losses. Who was my other one?
Notre Dame.
Either Notre Dame or LSU. I think Notre Dame. It was Notre Dame. So Notre Dame also has 2 losses.
Oh my God.
Does Clemson have 2 or 3 losses? 3.
They have 3.
So 3, 2. That's 5, 7, 9 losses. I said those 4 teams were going to be undefeated going into. We don't know Jack.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of predictions, and that's the beauty of us doing this.
That's crazy. They've combined for 9 losses. That is crazy. It's almost a season's worth of losing football games.
That is nuts.
That's sad. Well, we got you covered. We'll see you next time.